He mocked me in front of the entire table full of Washington's most connected people. "He's just an assistant," my brother said, with that easy laugh like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Glasses paused mid-air, a few polite smiles flickered, and the room's low hum dipped just enough to feel it. Then his fiancée leaned in, her voice calm but sharp. "Why don't you sit down and let the adults talk? Go ahead, ignore him if you want." I didn't say a word. Not one. I just held her gaze steady and quiet while the weight of the moment settled over everything. And in that exact second, as the silence stretched, she started to realize something was off. "My name is Reed Carter. I've spent years perfecting the art of staying under the radar in a family that loves spotlights." That night at the political fundraiser in D.C. wasn't supposed to be about me. It was one of those black tie events in a grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers, overhead tables loaded with donors, lobbyists, and a few senators working the room. String quartet in the corner, American flags flanking the stage where the candidate would speak later. My brother Spencer had scored prime seats at a VIP table close enough to the action to network hard. He was in his element, shaking hands, dropping names of bills he'd helped push through committees. I'd only shown up because our mom kept calling. "It's Family Reed. Spencer wants you there. It'll be good for you to see how things work in the real world." I knew what that meant. Spencer had always been the one they bragged about, the government relations director at a major firm rubbing shoulders with power players. Me, I was the younger brother who worked in tech support or handled admin stuff, depending on who was asking. They'd stopped prying years ago when my short answers made conversations awkward. So there I was in a rented tux that fit fine but felt foreign, sitting at the edge of their table. Spencer was mid-story about closing a big advocacy deal when he waved a hand my way. "Oh, and this is my little brother Reed. He's just an assistant over at some tech firm. Answers emails, keeps schedules straight, that kind of thing." He chuckled again, expecting the usual nods. A couple of guys at the table smirked politely. One woman asked if I liked the job. I didn't respond right away. Just took a slow sip of water. Then Brooke, Spencer's fiancée, sharp as ever, in a navy gown, partner at a top venture firm focused on GovTech, turned to me directly. "So Reed, what do you actually do all day?" Her tone was light, but there was that edge, like she was testing if I'd bite back. Spencer jumped in before I could even think about it. "Come on, Brooke, don't put him on the spot. He's fine where he is. Not everyone needs to chase the big titles." More laughs rippled. He clapped me on the shoulder hard enough to jolt. "Right, bro. Just keeping it simple." The table waited. Eyes on me. This was the moment where in the past I'd shrug it off with a weak smile to keep peace, but not tonight. I set my glass down, slowly folded my hands, and looked straight ahead. No words. No defense. Total silence. Brooke frowned slightly, studying my face like something didn't add up. Spencer shifted his grin, fading a bit. "See, he's ignoring me now. Classic Reed?" He tried to play it off, but the air had changed. Thicker, quieter. A donor across the table cleared his throat. Someone's phone buzzed. I stayed completely still, letting the quiet do the work. My heart was steady. Years of swallowing this exact kind of dismissal had built to this, one moment where I refused to shrink anymore. Brooke's eyes narrowed, searching my features as if piecing together a puzzle she'd seen before. Spencer pressed on, voice louder. "Anyway, back to the real deals." But the shift was already happening, and what came next flipped everything they'd ever assumed about me. If this kind of quiet power hits home for you, standing your ground without saying a word, drop a like and share your own moment in the comments. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the full story. You deserve to take control. Growing up in our family felt like living in two different worlds. Spencer was the golden child from the start. He was 3 years older, louder, more outgoing, the kind of kid who made teachers smile and parents brag. Report cards came home with straight A's, coaches asked him to captain every team, and neighbors always said he was going places. My parents hung every award on the fridge, framed the newspaper clippings when he won debate tournaments, and talked about his future like it was already written. I was the quiet one. Not shy exactly, just not the type who needed to be noticed. My grades were good, solid B pluses and the occasional A, but they never made it to the dinner table conversation. When I brought home a science fair ribbon in 8th grade, my dad glanced at it, said nice job, and then asked Spencer how practice went. That was the pattern. Spencer's wins were celebrations. Mine were footnotes. It wasn't cruelty. It was habit. My mom would say things like, "Spencer's got such natural charisma," while handing me the dishes after dinner. My dad would nod along, proud of the son who could talk to anyone. I learned early that asking for attention felt like interrupting. So I stopped. I kept my head down, did my work, and let the spotlight stay on him. High school made it worse. Spencer was senior class president, dated the cheer captain, got early acceptance to Georgetown. The house filled with his friends, his trophies, his plans. I was a sophomore when he left for college, and suddenly the house felt quieter, but not in a good way. My parents missed him constantly. Phone calls were about how well he was doing, how many internships he'd lined up. When they asked about me, it was always the same questions. How's school? Still doing that computer stuff? I'd say yes, and the conversation would drift back to Spencer. College was more of the same. I went to a state school in Virginia on scholarship, studied computer science, spent nights in the lab building algorithms while everyone else partied. Spencer was already interning on the Hill, networking with staffers, getting his name out there. Every holiday he came home with stories about meeting senators working on major bills. My parents ate it up. I'd sit at the table listening, nodding, saying very little about my own projects. A machine learning model that won a regional competition, a paper I co-authored that got published. No one asked follow-up questions. After graduation, Spencer landed a job at a top lobbying firm in D.C. Six-figure salary, benefits, a clear path. My parents threw a party. Relatives came. Toasts were made. Everyone said he was living the dream. I was working on my own startup out of a rented apartment in Arlington. Just me, a laptop, and a lot of coffee. I didn't tell them the details. When they asked what I did, I said tech support or assistant work. It was easier. If I told the truth, that I was building something that could change how governments handle data, they'd either not believe it or find a way to compare it unfavorably to Spencer's real career. The company grew quietly. First a small seed round from angel investors, then Series A, then bigger. By the time we hit unicorn status, the valuation was north of $1 billion. We had contracts with 3 federal agencies, patents filed, a team of 80 people. I stayed out of the press. No interviews, no conference keynotes, no Forbes lists. I liked it that way. The less my family knew, the less they could dismiss. There was only one person who saw through it, my cousin Shelby. Shelby grew up a few towns over, but we were close. She noticed things others missed. The late nights, the way I carried myself, the careful way I dodged questions about work. One Christmas a few years back, when everyone was distracted by Spencer's latest promotion, she pulled me aside in the kitchen. "I know you're not just some assistant," she said quietly. "I've seen the articles. Your company's logo is on half the government dashboards now." I didn't deny it. I just asked her not to tell anyone. She squeezed my arm and said, "Your secret's safe. But you don't have to keep shrinking for them." She never pushed. She just stayed in touch. Texts here and there, checking in without making a fuss. She was the only one who knew the real scale of what I'd built, and she never once made me feel like I had to prove it. Everyone else stayed comfortable with the smaller version of me, and for a long time, I let them. The evening of the fundraiser arrived faster than I wanted. My mom had been calling for weeks, leaving voicemails that always ended the same way. "Spencer really wants you there, Reed. It's important to him. You never come to these things anymore." I knew what that meant. She wasn't asking. She was pushing the way she always did when it involved Spencer's world. I finally said yes just to stop the calls. A quick weekend trip to DC one night, then back home. The event was held at one of those grand hotels near the National Mall. Marble floors, high-ceiling staff in crisp uniforms directing traffic. Security checked invitations at the door, then waved you through metal detectors. Inside the ballroom, everything screamed money and influence. Long tables covered in white linen centerpieces with subtle red, white, and blue accents place cards printed in elegant script. A stage at the front waited for the candidate's speech, flanked by massive screens and American flags. The air buzzed with low, confident conversations. Men in tailored suits, women in evening gowns, everyone holding champagne flutes or plates from the roaming servers. You could spot the players immediately, congressional staffers clustering near donors' lobbyists, working the room with practiced smiles, a few recognizable faces from cable news, shaking hands in corners. Spencer had texted me the table number earlier, so I found it near the front, close enough to hear the clink of silverware and the occasional burst of laughter. He was already there, standing greeting people as they arrived. Spencer looked completely at home. Navy suit, perfect tie, that easy grin that made strangers trust him instantly. He spotted me across the room and waved me over like he was doing me a favor. "Reed, you made it." He pulled me into a quick hug, then turned to the group around him. "Everyone, this is my brother. Flew in just for tonight." The table filled quickly. His boss sat at one end, a senior partner at the firm, gray hair, expensive watch. Next to him, a major donor who'd bundled serious money for the campaign. A couple of committee staffers, a think tank director, and a few others whose names I caught but didn't commit to memory. Spencer made sure to introduce each one, dropping details about their roles, the bills they'd shaped, the deals they'd closed. He knew exactly how to make people feel important. Plates came out. Salad first, then filet with seasonal vegetables. Spencer dominated the conversation from the start. He talked about the latest infrastructure package, how his firm had helped craft language that got bipartisan support. He name-dropped senators, casually mentioned closed-door meetings, laughed about late-night markups. People leaned in. His boss nodded approval. The donor asked follow-ups, clearly impressed. I stayed quiet, eating slowly, answering only when someone asked me directly. Most questions went to Spencer anyway. He steered it that way effortlessly. At one point, the think tank director turned to me. "And what do you do, Reed?" Spencer jumped in before I could open my mouth. "Oh, Reed keeps things running behind the scenes, works as an assistant at a tech company, handles scheduling emails, all that operational stuff. Keeps him out of the spotlight, which he prefers." A few nods around the table. Someone said, "Important work. Someone has to keep the trains on time." Spencer smiled wider. "Exactly. Not everyone's cut out for the front lines like we are here." He gestured at the group, including himself. Light chuckles followed. His boss raised an eyebrow, amused. The donor glanced my way briefly, then turned back to Spencer for more details on an upcoming vote. Spencer kept going. He brought up a recent win, securing language in a defense bill that benefited a key client. Told the story with perfect timing, building to the punchline that got genuine laughs. Glasses clinked in a small toast. He was magnetic, and he knew it. Every eye stayed on him. As dessert arrived, some chocolate thing with gold leaf, Spencer leaned back, surveying the table like he owned it. He waved a hand toward me again. "Seriously, though, glad Reed could join us tonight. He doesn't get out to DC much. Figured it was time he saw what real networking looks like." More smiles. His boss chuckled. "We'll have to get him involved next time." The mockery wasn't loud or mean-spirited. It was casual, woven into compliments for himself. But it landed the same way it always had, shrinking me in front of people who mattered to him. I set my fork down, feeling the familiar weight settle in. The candidate took the stage soon after speech, starting with thanks to major supporters. Spencer stood to applaud, beaming. I sat through it, hands in my lap, watching the room orbit around my brother one more time. Brooke leaned forward across the table, her eyes locked on mine. She had been quiet most of the night, listening more than talking, the way people in her position often do. Partner at a venture firm that specialized in GovTech and policy-adjacent startups, she knew how to read a room. Her question came during a brief lull after the candidate's speech, when coffee was being poured and people were shifting in their seats. "So Reed," she said, voice even, but direct. Spencer says, "You're an assistant. What does that actually look like day to day? What company?" The table quieted a notch. A few heads turned my way. Spencer paused mid-sentence, with his boss smirking like he was ready to jump in again. I didn't answer. I just met her gaze and stayed silent. No nod, no shrug, no deflection. Nothing. Brooke waited a beat, eyebrows lifting slightly. "I'm curious. Tech's my world. I like knowing what people really do." Spencer laughed low and dismissive. "Brooke, come on. He's told you. Scheduling emails, keeping things organized. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills." He reached over and nudged my arm. "Tell her, Reed, don't be shy." I didn't move, didn't speak. My hand stayed folded on the tablecloth, eyes steady on Brooke. The nudge didn't get a reaction. Spencer's grin tightened. He tried again, louder this time. "See? He's always like this. Plays it mysterious. Probably doesn't want to bore everyone with the details." He looked around the table for support. His boss gave a small chuckle. The donor smiled politely. "Not everyone has to be in the spotlight, right?" Brooke ignored him. She kept studying me, head tilted just a fraction. Something in her expression shifted, curiosity turning into focus. She set her coffee cup down carefully. "You look familiar," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. Then louder, "Have we met before? Professionally, I mean." Spencer rolled his eyes. "Babe, you meet hundreds of people. He's my brother. You've seen pictures." She didn't look at him. Her gaze stayed on me, sharper now. I remained silent. The seconds stretched. No one else spoke. The clatter from nearby tables felt distant. Brooke's brow furrowed. She pulled her phone from her clutch, discreetly, thumb scrolling under the table. Spencer noticed and leaned toward her. "What are you doing?" She held up a finger, still looking at me. Then her eyes widened, just enough for me to notice. She turned the screen slightly so only she could see, then looked back up. "Reed Carter," she said slowly, like testing the name. "Carter Analytics. AI platforms for federal data processing." The table went completely still. Spencer's face froze mid-smile. Brooke continued, voice calm but carrying. "About 6 years ago, a startup came through our seed round pipeline. Founder was young, no public profile, pitched a machine learning system for secure government workflows. We passed. Valuation was low, team was small, founder wanted to stay anonymous. I remember the deck. Clean, no fluff. I initialed the rejection myself." She paused, looking straight at me. "That was you." Spencer blinked. "What?" "No, Reed doesn't." Brooke cut him off without looking away from me. "The company rebranded 2 years later. Carter Analytics. Now it's the primary contractor for 3 agencies on data integrity and threat detection. $1 billion valuation. Quietest unicorn in the sector. Founder never does interviews. Board listings only show R. Carter." She leaned back slightly. "That's you, isn't it?" I finally spoke. One short sentence, even and low. "Yes." The word landed softly, but it changed everything. Spencer's mouth opened, then closed. His boss stared, processing. The donor's eyebrows shot up. A staffer across the table muttered, "Holy shit," under his breath. Brooke didn't smile or gloat. She just nodded once, like a puzzle clicking into place. "We should have invested." Spencer recovered, first, voice rising. "This is ridiculous. Reed, tell her she's wrong. You've been doing assistant work for years. You told us. I looked at him then. Still calm. I never told you anything. You assumed. I stopped correcting it. His face flushed. You let everyone think. Why would you hide that you sat here all night letting me? Brooke turned to him, finally tone cooler. Letting you what? Spencer talk about him like he's invisible. Spencer sputtered. He could have said something. Any time in the last decade, I didn't respond. Silence again. The table felt the weight of it now, no one jumping in to smooth things over. His boss cleared his throat, looking between us. Well, this is unexpected. Brooke kept her eyes on me a moment longer. Respect flickered there, mixed with something else. Reassessment. She knew the industry. She knew what I'd built without fanfare, without the networking Spencer lived for. Spencer tried one more time, voice forced light. Come on, guys. Family joke, right? Reed's always been the quiet type. No one laughed. I held the silence a little longer, letting it settle. Then I picked up my water glass and took a slow drink. Brooke spoke again, quieter now. Your platform just won the renewal on the defense contract last quarter. Congratulations. I nodded once. That was all. The air around the table had shifted completely. No going back. The room didn't explode. It just got very, very quiet. At first, it was only our table. Forks stopped moving. Conversations in mid-sentence trailed off. The donor next to Spencer set his phone down slowly. His boss leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing as he processed what Brooke had just laid out. A staffer whispered something to the person beside her, and heads turned. Then it spread. One table over, someone recognized the company name and repeated it under their breath. Carter Analytics, the one with the classified contracts. Another guest pulled out a phone, fingers tapping quickly. Within seconds, screens lit up around us, people glancing, searching, confirming. Spencer's face drained of color. He stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. This can't be right, he said, voice too loud in the sudden hush. Reed, tell them she's mixed you up with someone else. I didn't answer, just looked back at him steady. He turned to Brooke. You've got the wrong guy. He's my brother. He's been doing admin work forever. There's no way. Brooke didn't respond to him. She was watching the reactions ripple outward. A woman 2 seats down gasped softly after reading something on her screen. It says here the founder is anonymous, but the registered agent is R. Carter. Spencer's boss cleared his throat again, louder this time. Spencer, did you know about this? Spencer shook his head fast. No. Of course not. He never said anything. His voice cracked on the last word. He swung back to me. Why the hell didn't you tell us? You let everyone think you were just some assistant. You sat there tonight listening to me talk and didn't say a word. My parents were at the far end of the table. They'd flown in for the event too. My mom's hand went to her mouth. Her eyes were wide, fixed on me. My dad looked stunned, glass halfway to his lips frozen. Spencer kept going, volume rising. This whole time you've been running $1 billion company and you never mentioned it. You made us look like idiots. You did this on purpose. Waited until tonight to drop it like some bomb. Heads from nearby tables turned fully now. Phones were out everywhere. Someone a few rows back murmured, "That's him." The brother whispers carried quietest exit in tech history. Federal contracts. Turned down every interview. I spoke for the second time that night. Voice low and even. I didn't drop anything. Someone asked. Someone else answered. Spencer's jaw tightened. Don't play innocent. You could have corrected me years ago. Every family dinner, every holiday. You let us believe the small version because it made you feel superior or something. My mom finally found her voice small and shaky. Reed, is this true? All these years, I turned to her. Yes. She blinked hard like the word hurt. My dad set his glass down carefully. Why didn't you tell us, son? We would have been proud. Spencer cut in before I could reply. Proud. He hid it because he wanted this exact moment, to make me look bad in front of everyone who matters. His boss shifted uncomfortably. The donor avoided eye contact, scrolling through his phone instead. A staffer live texted someone across the room. I caught a glimpse of the message drama at table 12. Spencer Carter's brother is the Carter Analytics founder. More whispers spread. No public photos. That's why no one connected it. Brooke stayed silent now, arms crossed, watching Spencer unravel. Spencer leaned toward me, voice sharp. You think this makes you better? Sitting there quiet like some martyr while the rest of us actually show up and network. You built something big and kept it secret just to pull this stunt. I didn't rise to it. Silence again. The weight of it pressed harder. My mom reached toward my dad's arm, gripping it. Tears welled in her eyes. We always asked how work was. You said fine. My dad nodded slowly, still processing. We thought you were happy keeping it simple. A man from another table stood and walked over. Someone Spencer had introduced earlier as a senior advisor. He stopped near us. Excuse me, Reed Carter. Your platform saved us months on the last audit. Huge fan of the work. He extended a hand. I shook it briefly. Thank you. Spencer watched, face red now. Unbelievable. The advisor nodded at Brooke. You called it. Then he returned to his seat. Phones kept buzzing. Messages flying. The whispers grew into low conversations. Turned down Sequoia twice. Sole proprietor on the patents. No board leaks ever. Spencer tried one last deflection, turning to his boss. This is just a misunderstanding. We'll sort it out later. His boss didn't answer right away. Just looked at me then, at Spencer, calculating. My parents sat frozen. My mom whispered all this time. I stayed quiet. The drama hung thick. No shouts, no scenes, just the slow, heavy realization spreading through the room like smoke. No one tried to change the subject. I stepped out into the cool DC night, the city lights blurring past as I drove away. The valet had brought my car around quickly. I'd texted him while the whispers were still building. No goodbyes, no explanations. I just stood, nodded once at the table, and walked out. Behind me, I heard chair legs scrape as Brooke stood and took Spencer's arm, guiding him toward the lobby. Her voice was low, firm. We need to talk. Now. I didn't look back. The drive to the hotel was short, traffic thin at that hour. I checked in, dropped my bag, and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the city skyline through the window. My phone started vibrating almost immediately. Texts from numbers I hadn't saved in years. Colleagues who'd been at nearby tables. Is that really you? Heard what happened? Insane. Carter Analytics, mind blown. I turned it face down. Next morning, I flew home early. No breakfast with the family, no debrief. Just a quick message to my mom heading out. Safe travels home. The fallout started fast. Within days, the story circulated through DC. Circles. Not headlines. Nothing that public. But the kind of gossip that matters in that town. Emails forwarded, Slack messages, quiet mentions in meetings. Did you hear about Spencer Carter's brother? People who'd been at the Fundraiser retold versions of it? Some accurate, some exaggerated. My name attached to the company became common knowledge in rooms where it had never come up before. Spencer's firm felt it first. His boss pulled him into a closed-door meeting the following week. No official reprimand, but questions about judgment, about bringing personal drama into professional spaces. A partner spot he'd been in line for suddenly went quiet. A client he'd been courting pulled back, citing optics concerns. Nothing in writing, just the slow freeze that happens when trust erodes. My parents called the day after they got home. My mom left a voicemail, voice thick. Reed, honey, we need to talk about this. Please call us back. My dad followed with a text. Son, we're worried. Let's figure this out as a family. I didn't reply. The calls kept coming. Spencer tried twice. Once angry, once calmer. You owe me an explanation. Then, can we just meet and clear the air? I let them go to voicemail. My mom escalated to longer messages. We had no idea you felt this way. We're sorry if we made you hide things. Please let's have dinner when you're ready. I read them then, archived the thread. A week later, Brooke reached out directly, a short email from her work address. I ended things with Spencer. What happened that night made me see patterns I'd been ignoring. Thank you for your silence. It spoke louder than anything else could have. I wish you the best. No request for reply. I didn't send one. Spencer's messages turned pleading after that. She left because of this. Because of you. You happy now? Then another I get it. I was an ass. Can we talk? I blocked his number. My parents tried through other channels. An aunt who texted on their behalf, a cousin who called. Same script, confusion, regret, requests to reconnect. I kept responses minimal or none. Shelby sent one message, heard everything. Proud of you for walking away clean. I thanked her. That was the only family contact I answered. By the end of the month, the rumor mill had done its work. Spencer lost the lead on a major advocacy contract, reassigned quietly to someone else. Whispers said leadership worried about his family distractions affecting client confidence. He stayed at the firm, but the upward trajectory stalled hard. Brooke made the breakup official. Returned the ring, moved out of the apartment they'd shared. Word spread through mutual connections. Some blamed me, some blamed Spencer's reaction. Most just noted it as another DC casualty of unchecked ego. My parents stopped calling after 6 weeks. Last voicemail from my mom, "We love you. When you're ready, we'll be here." I saved it but didn't call back. I blocked the numbers that kept pushing, changed my personal email, routed work through assistants so nothing slipped through. Life settled into a cleaner rhythm. No more obligatory invitations, no more pretending. The silence I'd held that night extended outward, not bitter, just final. Boundaries once set stayed set. A couple of months later, things had settled into a new kind of normal. Spencer's career took the hardest hit. The partner track he'd been groomed for vanished quietly, reassigned to another director without explanation. A major deal he'd spent a year cultivating, one that would have brought in 7 figures for the firm and cemented his reputation, fell apart at the last minute. The client cited alignment concerns in a polite email, but word got around that the Fundraiser incident had raised flags about reliability. In DC, perception is everything. Once doubt creeps in, opportunities dry up fast. He stayed employed, kept his title, but the momentum was gone. No more high-profile assignments. No invitations to the exclusive retreats. Colleagues still nodded in hallways, but conversations shortened. He became the guy with the cautionary tale attached, the one who brought family baggage into a room full of power brokers. I heard none of this directly. Updates came through industry channels, neutral sources, who mentioned it in passing during contract renewals or partnership calls. I never asked for details. Shelby reached out one weekend, the only family member I hadn't cut off completely. She suggested coffee when she was in town for a conference. We met at a quiet spot near my office, outdoor tables under trees. No rush. She arrived with a small smile, hugged me briefly. "You look good." Lighter somehow. We ordered drinks and sat. She didn't dive into questions about the family right away. Instead, she talked about her own work, a new project she was leading. Then casually, "Spencer's struggling. Lost that big contract everyone thought was locked." I nodded. I heard. She studied me. "Mom and Dad ask about you every time we talk. They don't push me to relay messages anymore. They know it won't work." I sipped my coffee. "And you? How are you holding up in the middle?" She shrugged. "I stay neutral. Told them straight, they spent years building him up and ignoring you. Actions have consequences." She paused. "They miss you, but they're starting to understand why you walked. We talked for an hour. About her life, my company's latest rollout safe topics. No pressure to fix anything. When we parted, she hugged me again. Keep doing what's right for you. I've got your back. That was the extent of family contact, occasional check-ins from Shelby, nothing more. Dylan became the person I leaned on most. My business partner from the early days, he'd been there through every milestone. We met for dinner one evening at a steakhouse we liked. Dim lighting, good wine list, no distractions. He raised his glass after we ordered. To clean slates. I clinked mine against his. To choosing who gets a seat at the table? He laughed softly. Heard the latest on your brother. Rough. I nodded. Not surprised. Dylan leaned in. You know what impresses me most? You didn't gloat. Didn't post about it. Didn't tell mutual contacts to spread it. You just let the truth do its job and moved on. I thought about that. Revenge would have kept me tied to them. Silence cut the rope. He nodded. Smart. And healthier. We talked shop for a while. Expansion plans, new hires, a potential acquisition. Then conversation shifted personal. He asked how the cutoff felt day to day. Quiet, I said. But the good kind. No more dread before holidays. No more editing myself in conversations. Energy goes where it matters now. He smiled. You built something huge without needing their validation. That's rare. I looked out the window at the city lights. I used to think family was the one thing you couldn't choose. Turns out you can choose how much space they take. Dylan raised his glass again. Here's to boundaries. Life moved forward cleaner after that. Work demanded focus. New contracts rolled in team. Grew problems solved daily. Evenings were mine. Gym, reading, travel when I wanted. No obligations pulling me backward. I never heard from Spencer again. No apologies that stuck, no attempts that got through. My parents stayed silent too, respecting the distance or accepting it. I didn't ask. The real lesson wasn't in the fallout. It was in what came after. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because you share blood. Self-respect means protecting your peace even when it's hard. Setting boundaries isn't punishment, it's clarity. And walking away from toxic dynamics isn't losing family, it's choosing yourself. Silence, when used right, isn't weakness, it's control. It draws the line and holds it. Some relationships aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to teach you when to stop trying. I'm better for learning that.